Thank you and a warm welcome to all of you for today's discussion. Basically, this discussion in association with Schneider, we are centering it around one is remote monitoring and management challenges for data centers, and especially very relevant in the current times. What we have seen in the last few months is more and more organizations have gone in a remote working mode from a work from home mode, and that has sort of increased the need for more remote monitoring and data center management. We will try to discuss the challenges in both managing data centers and remote monitoring. Then we will discuss, see, there are different kind of applications now in enterprise. Some will be in public cloud, some will be in private cloud. Then there are applications on the edge also. So these multi-cloud applications, this multi-cloud environment is there, and how your data center infrastructure becomes relevant in terms of managing the complexities in this multi-cloud environment. We would like to talk upon that. Third is in terms of data center infrastructure. How do you look at optimizing your data center infrastructure and basically making it more productive and more secure? Security is a very critical aspect at any point of time. So we would like to discuss that. We would like to touch upon, we talk so much about IoT, but all the data center talks are centered around the IT part of it. What about the data center for the OT part? What are the bottlenecks there, challenges there? We would like to briefly touch upon that. There are representatives from Schneider also here. So one from the CIOs and the technology heads, we would like to know about what are your expectations from a service provider like Schneider, and in terms of both technology as well as business issues like SLAs. And from Schneider, we would like to know what sort of solutions are available there. So very briefly, before we start this roundtable, we would like to invite Chirag Tyagi from Schneider to make a very brief talk on benefits of remote monitoring and management in powering data centers. And after that, some of those issues will take it up in during the discussion itself. Over to you, Chirag.
So good afternoon to all the attendees. I hope you're doing well and keeping safe. I'd like to thank all of you for taking out time and joining us for this very interesting session today. I am Chirag Tyagi. I'm a part of Secure Power Division in Schneider Electric, and I look after the sales for EcoStruxure IT, our data center management software solutions. Before we head to a roundtable discussion today with the respective leaders and subject matter experts, I would like to kick off today's event with a brief note on the role that remote monitoring is going to play in powering data center facilities. With this pandemic affecting each and every industry, it has also catalyzed operation changes for data center as well. It has become a key priority to keep on-site team at the very minimum and adopt the remote monitoring and management technologies, mission critical IT infrastructure. So beyond monitoring, we are also observing that data center users are exploring solutions which can automate more critical processes across both central as well as their edge facilities. And while we slowly return to our normalcy or the new normalcy, and as we learn to live with the situation, the need for a remote monitoring solution is not likely to change anytime soon. We can say that while the current situation might have accelerated the adoption of such technologies, the need for these kind of solutions were already increasing even before the pandemic, as we has slowly started observing a transition beyond the traditional centralized IT framework. This transition has in some parts created an environment where a good amount of infra must operate without dedicated on-site staff, and this will only become more prevalent in the time to come. Now, for this to work well, the capabilities for identifying the potential issues and providing maintenance also need to be advanced enough to keep the systems running. And while our users are embracing the new digital models like never before, the implementation of such solutions require very careful consideration before actually adopting them. So allow me to summarize these few considerations for selecting a remote monitoring and management setup as it becomes more and more essential for our data center environments and users in the coming time. The number one is predictive capabilities. With the help of IoT frameworks, machine health data collected from numerous touchpoints, the use of predictive technology is helping in moving the monitoring paradigm, how we see monitoring from a reactive to a more proactive model. The capabilities of these solutions, and we have been hearing for IoT for a long time, and the capabilities of these solutions help will help the data center managers in anticipating the component failures days or weeks before they occur, hence reducing the downtime. And in an environment like data center where any unplanned downtime can lead to a definite business loss, this capability will become more and more critical as it advances. And not just this, I believe that it will also remove the necessity of technicians on site unless absolutely necessary. And as and when more and more devices start getting connected to it, the technology develops further. And with 5G coming into the whole fray, the diagnostic capabilities, the analytics, and the domain expertise will also become very nuanced. And it will provide a scalable platform for our data center users, facility managers for effective maintenance and repair activities. Number two aspect for these kind of solutions is the risk mitigation part. While a data center in itself is responsible for generating lots of data, but sometimes the data that we use to monitor it does not usually give us the actionable insights to the facility managers, site engineers, or technicians to make their life easier. While many solutions in the market promise to give you good insight and they give you product history, but they will not usually alert you about the pressing matters related to a device or a component or a location. This is where having a real-time monitoring solution becomes a very handy feature to mitigate your downtime risk, proactively replace your faulty parts, and what this will lead to will be an extension of your overall life of the equipment. And extension of life means a good ROI on your investment on them. As we become more decentralized in the years and months to come, and start incorporating data at edge locations, these solutions should also act as a central hub to help gain visibility no matter where you are. Even if you are at home, even if you are traveling, you should have a complete visibility and control over this infra. And the site engineers and the experts should be able to use these solutions to maintain business continuity across the entire network without having any crew, or with having minimal crew at site, or even in situations where traveling is not really an option. The third aspect of the solution is the insight, which will help you make better decisions. Now, our basic principle with EcoStructure, and when we try and discuss with the customer, is that we do not want you to sit in front of the solution for hours every day to extract meaningful data. Instead, any solution should have the ability to offer you digestible reports that highlights the upcoming issues as well as give you a glance into the overall history. Even if you want a high level executive report or if you want a device level sensor view, the capability should be there in a solution to cover both of these extremities. Accessibility should also be there with your mobile, so that again, whenever you are home or you're traveling, you don't have to sit in front of a laptop or a system to see how the devices are performing, how the sites are performing. And in case of any issue, you should have the ability to communicate which particular device located at which particular site is not performing well. These small details, these granular details rather, will make the inspection and planning future maintenance needs very, very convenient for our users in the time to come. And the last but not the least, one major consideration is which one to select. Should we go with the on-premise component or should we select on-cloud component? This is an important consideration that because we are seeing that users are shifting to a more pay-as-you-go model, so that they don't have to worry about license renewals, installations, on-premise infra management, or having to use any third-party partner to do customization integration. Users are demanding a more ready-made solution which can simply be plugged in and used without having to spend days and days in setting up the entire solution. So in total, having the right monitoring capabilities as a part of your overall DCIM of the data center management portfolio can help you deliver good uptime and provide greater security to your mission critical infra. So with this in consideration in place, let us move to the next part of our discussion today and start a roundtable. Thank you for your time today and for your attention.
Thank you, Chirag. Now we have some of the lead pointers also for the discussion. And the first question, before putting the question, I'd just like to introduce the panelists, and I'm just introducing in no order as I see on my screen. We have Mr. Yateen. He's a global CEO of Valuefy, which is one of the globally leading BFSI organizations. We have Ravikiran Mankikar. He is the RKM consultants heading and one of the veteran CIOs. His last stint was at Uthale Cooperative Bank. We have Sushobhan Mukherjee, who is the founder and CEO of Prime Infoserv, one of the leading system integrators and ISVs. We have Pallab Ganguly, who is a IEEE Kolkatta chapter, one of the senior functionaries, as well as the CISO of CESC-RPG, CESC, the generation side. We have Shantanu who is the founder and CEO of Somnetics, again, one of the leading system integrators, and who is doing very good work as an ISV in different domains. We have Sandip, who is from Schneider. We have Sachin Murudkar from Prime Focus, one of Mumbai's large studios. We have Mr. Ravi Patra, who is a general manager of IT from Coal India, one of the large PSUs. We have Malay who heads the security and technology at iMerit, again, one of the large system integrators. We have Vikas Goyal, who heads Thinkstreet Technologies and is associated as a CTO with British Telecom. We also have Avinash K from Microland, and we are also supposed to be joined by Venkatraman from MTR Foods. So my first question to the panel is basically on managing the challenges of a data center and remote monitoring challenges, especially when so much of work from home and remote working is happening in the last few months. So I'll put my first question to Yateen. What do you think are the challenges in the current situation in increasing remote monitoring and working of data centers, especially when many organizations are overall shifting their work in a remote manner? Yateen.
Sure. Thank you, Rajneesh. Before I answer the question, let me give you a background. After I joined in the capacity of Global Chief Operating Officer, within 1 month of time, I made and got a policy rolled out in our organization. And that policy is about work from anywhere for lifetime. And you can imagine the repercussions, right? We being a global organizations, that opened up a lot of hiring opportunities for us. And it didn't matter where a person is working from. He has the freedom to operate from anywhere for his lifetime. With this policy, the team which supports and keeps the lights on, which manages our servers and all, also had this opportunity. But with every opportunity, there comes a responsibility. So we ensured that the team that supports, right, our servers, our data centers, our cloud infrastructure and all, are equipped with strong redundant bandwidth. Because the first challenge in work from home is when we are monitoring critical infrastructure 24/7, people who are supposed to, solve the problems within a fly of time, were earlier based out of fiber networks based in various offices, which was of high capacity, and we can't expect the same level of capacity from individual homes. So we ensured that these critical people are equipped with bandwidth. So bandwidth issues was taken out of right the box. So that was the first challenge which we overcome. The second challenge is availability of people, because earlier people were coming in shifts. So we ensure that wherever you are, the same protocol, the processes were extended beyond office, which was reaching to different right people. So the productivity tools were ensured and enforced to make sure that the show goes on. So with these two things, that is addressing the infrastructure needs, the communication needs of people to ensure that the lights are kept on. B, to ensure that our processes are extended beyond the office and it reaches into the new definitions of office, which can be any location from anywhere, right? We ensure that our processes also follow over there, and our productivity, tools measure them. So with these three things, we overcome the challenge. And last but not the least, we extended our partnership with our service providers, primarily the data center providers, because now we cannot expect our core team in the event of a physical failure to move to data center, right, to be present over there. So we enhanced our agreements with the data center people, wherein the first level hands and legs for hardware failures is taken care by the data center vendors team by itself. So with this, we cover the challenges which we faced or which were posed because of work from anywhere, from any location. I hope, Rajnish,
Okay.
I have answered your question adequately.
Yeah, thank you. This same question I'll put to different people to get a different perspective. You answered more from the BFSI perspective. May I come to you, Mr. Patra, from a PSU perspective? This work from home, has it accelerated remote monitoring and more challenges in managing a data center?
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Rajneesh. What Mr. Yateen told, that is very much right, that you should have a redundant bandwidth from different ISP. In order to access from remote to data center or to monitor the data center, first of all, you have to reach up to the data center if you're working from home or working from outside of the remote area. Apart from the ISP, you should have the equipments in HM, so that at least you can have the visibility inside the data center, the operation of the equipments and all these things. And in this scenario, when work from home and you are monitoring a data center like infrastructure remotely, you should have the adequate equipments, visibility, and there are three more important things, that is power outage. You should have to take care of the power outage. You should have to take care of the equipment failures, and there should be complete visibility from data center to the remote locations, so that you can access at the time of need or at the time of breakdowns what has happened really, and you can accordingly monitor and manage. So in that case, you cannot rely on remote monitoring. You should have some physical presence, either by your service integrator or by somebody else, so that in case of any problem happens, should have some physical interference. It cannot be monitored 100% from remotely or cannot be managed 100%. But however, for day-to-day work or day-to-day monitoring or day-to-day operation, you can very much monitor if your data center is equipped with required hardware like IoT and other sensors, and it gives you a clear picture and visibility of all the equipments, all the activities.
Okay, thank you. Another completely different industry, Sachin, I'll come to you. Especially in the last few months, what you faced as major challenges in managing your data center, especially in the remote monitoring part?
Actually, it's like, first of all, good afternoon, everyone. So the challenges which we were facing were most probably not from the pandemic point of view. Actually, these data centers, accessing the data centers, and more in terms of when the data IOs and all have been carried out. At that time, if you have any hardware failure, that was the biggest challenge what we were trying to face. Actually, but God forbid, and it did not happen. But we were keeping ourselves ready so that in case something happens in that case, who will be the person who will be there. So in that case, most of the data centers that are servers, they were at the options where a person could reach there, and if in case any physical requirement is there, in that case he can reach there and the issue isn't there, because our media industry, actually the data is very critical and the time is very also very critical, which if you miss out some data or you miss out some time out of it, you are born to lose the entire project. So in that case, that becomes a mission criticality. So that was the major I would say difficulty which we were been facing. Apart from that, as Mr. Yateen said, that when this pandemic came into Feb end and March, that time we didn't even know what will be the scenario and how long it will take. So the main thing which we wanted to think was about the three P's, like uh, people, planning, and productivity. So that was thinking. So people will might more IT. IT will support user, how IT will support other means data centers and all that part of a thing. So overall, it was a very difficult situation, but gradually we took this phase wise, and all this was done. But then the major task was how the person will reach there and how the data center will be working on it. So that was the main thing which we were thinking of.
Okay, thank you. Um, Before I come to Pallab, who represents another vertical, I come to Sushobhan. I want to ask more from the system integrator and ISV point of view. When you're working with a lot of large enterprises, also, what do you see, and especially relevant in the current situation, the challenges in data center management in the recent months? Sushobhan.
Sure. Thank you for the question. Purely, I'll highlight on 3 points. Firstly, majorly, this pandemic situation has arrived to all of us in a sudden kind of situation. There was not kind of a planning. Suddenly, moment it has evolved. So we are bound to give the access to the users in their own devices. So we talk BOID, bring your own device. So users are using all enterprise applications from the data center using their home machine, their laptop, desktop, and mobiles. In that kind of situation, since those devices are not enforced by the data center or maybe enterprise management policies, those posture of the machines are not known. So that has become very much put the centralized governance on top of that. So that is one of the challenge. Secondly, the entire access methodology got changed. Means I have certain applications hosted in my data center. So initially, few of the applications was being used from inside my office or inside my network through MPLS or different kind of connecting methodology. Now we are hosting few of the applications on the cloud itself. Like suppose we are using a mail system in Office 365. So I have certain enterprise data application in my data center. I have certain applications which is beyond my data center, and I am using those applications sometimes from home, sometimes from office, sometimes from anywhere. So this is zero trust architecture. That means users can come from anytime, from anywhere. So I cannot I cannot fully trust any one of the users since they are coming from anywhere. This is the second challenge. Third one is, as we are talking about already, the all the data centers in India, be it government and private, we already had lot of tools and technologies like enterprise management kind of software. We used to have service desks. Some of the, for the security perspective, we had SOC and other things. But the adoption and governance was very poor. That's why we are facing this kind of challenges. Because like in government also, in for data center, apart from tools and technology, we had certain procedures also, like ISO 27000 kind of framework. For service, there is ITSM, ISO 20000 kind of framework. For risk assessment, there was 31000 kind of framework. there was BCP and other things. But we had a lot of things we had, but we never had those kind of drills. So adoption and governance was very poor. That's why we are facing many kind of challenges. So these are the three things I wanted to highlight.
Okay, thanks. You talked about the application part. I'll come to that domain later. I'll come to Pallab now. It's a slightly different question. More as a power utility provider, I would like to put that OT part. We are talking a lot about the data center management, but that is more on the IT side.
I cannot hear
Now,
you. I cannot hear you
once
properly.
we are talking so much about OT, data center in the OT part, and what are the challenges there, and why there are so many instances of failures, according to you, Pallab?
Yeah, thank you, Rajneesh. Good afternoon, gentlemen. Well, to start with, I must focus on the OT part, but beforehand, what I think is the most important part related to a data center and as well as the remote monitoring and the management of the data center is concerned. First comes the asset visibility. That is most important, be it IT or the operational technology. The asset visibility is very important. You should know where your assets are they in proper health, proper diligence. Second comes the better power efficiency measurement. You know, that is the heart of the data center is the power utilization efficiency. So to have a proper PUE, so PUE is a very, very important thing which you must maintain. But in this COVID pandemic, what we have faced from Calcutta Electric Supply is the FMS service. The facility management services people could not turn up and get into the data center due to this COVID pandemic. So what we have done, we made it available through our DCIM software, and also we had started some monitoring with a shorter response time, because the most important thing is the asset visibility, the power efficiency measurement, and the shorter response time. Because if you get to know that your battery is malfunctioning and you don't have any FMS services at your data center, then you are in a soup. Because at any point of time, due to the mismanagement of the battery management system, your UPS can go down, and due to this, you may end up with a ruptured power outage, your DG set, again the LT panels and all. So the OT perspective as well as the IT perspectives at this type of COVID situation, the FMS not turning up into the data center was really a real-time problem. Apart from this, in the operational technology front, if you see, we are going to set up a smart gate control center very soon, but now we have a smart control room at our disposal. In the smart control room, again, it is no less than a data center. You should have all the equipments of data, whatever you are having for the IT data centers, though the ISO 27001, as correctly said by Sushobhan, is very much in perspective to the IT part of the data center, but for the OT part of the data center, since we don't have any ISO 27001 type of compliance, so we can get on with the NIST guidelines of the National Institutes of Standards and Technology from USA. We can have the NAAC standards, and also we can follow the Bureau of Indian Standard as well as the IEEE guidelines, because there are no specific standards for the data center apart from ASHRAE. ASHRAE, the cooling part or the IT part, you are having the standards, but for the OT, there is no standards defined apart from some NAAC standard of North America and the NIST guidelines or the IC standards, which are followed basically for the OT protocols and all. Have I made myself clear?
Yeah. Thank you. We'll take this up point later, but now I'll come to a question, and I'll put this question to both Ravi as well as Shantanu. I think Sushobhan touched about applications. So now we have multiple applications. There are some applications on your public cloud, some on private cloud, some on data center, some beyond the data center, some on edge computing, and you are sort of managing a hybrid multi-cloud kind of environment and different applications. Now these applications are also We now having containerized applications. So all this, what basically boils down, is a very challenging multi-cloud, hybrid, multi-scenario kind of environment, especially from at the application side. And the aim of the organization is ultimately to run all these applications optimally, productively, and securely. The security part I'll come specifically later, but how to do this, Ravi? What, according to you, is managing the complexity of all these applications? What are the biggest challenges there?
Yeah, right. Good afternoon, everyone. See, the pandemic brought forward two quite distinct areas which organizations really need to look into. One is the resiliency. Okay, so we have been talking of uptime and a lot of other things regarding our data center. But our adaptiveness to change to the changing times. Now, one of the things which really factored in, especially the banking sector where I come from, was that from both sides, whether it is from the customer side, whether it is from the bank individual staff side, or even from the vendor side, physical travel was restricted. And when we were talking of physical travel being restricted, it was very much imperative that we need to have the applications now running. Okay. And at the same time, we have to ensure that the connections which are happening from outside the organizational secured environment. Now, why I use the word organizational secured environment is that as an entity, we normally try to protect our own internal networks. But this pandemic threw off a challenge where people are going to, or customers or even vendors, they are going to connect remotely. And when they are going to connect remotely, we have to ensure that we have the adequate security in place to ensure that the connections are through a secure channel and that they go through seamlessly. Second, banking was shown to be something which can go beyond the physical premise. Now, when I say going beyond the physical premise, it means that when a person could not come physically to the branch and do his transactions, all the organizations had to ensure that they subscribe to such services where they were able to provide these kind of services to the customers. Now, many a times, many organizations may not have had those kind of applications within their portfolio at that particular moment of time. But then circumstances force them that they have to subscribe to third-party solutions. Now, when we talk of third-party, you go outside your environment. So you're going somewhere, let's say something which was unimaginable, that is make use of wallets or make use of you know, payment systems like Google Pay or UPI in fact show a manifold increase in the volumes. So here what we will find that the entire usage moved out of the campus, it went outside, and suddenly the ecosystem was involved. So you had the entire ecosystem gearing up to face each other and at the same time complement each other. So here people were not worried about competition, they were worried about helping each other to survive, because for each one it became imperative that I give the service which will be helping my fellow bank or fellow thing. And here this, you know, the synergy came in, and that created the resilience. And this is where again some organizations felt that those who did not have their own data centers capable enough to handle such kind of things, they went about migrating to bigger data center cloud model. And here we find that the cloud model adoption increased during the pandemic period. So that also brought up the dependency on in-house sales or in-house capability of maintaining the data centers. So, I mean, there was a lot of learning which normally took place, especially in the BFSI sector, where to provide those kind of services which the customer required, and at the same time reduce the cost of operations and ensure that we are operating. Yatin made a good point about connectivity. Yes, connectivity was a major issue because we also had to ensure that the people connecting remotely did not suffer, but at the same time ensure that whatever applications which were in use, whether in-house or whether outsourced for that particular moment, suffice the need of the organizations and the customers. So
Okay.
this was a very big challenge, which especially banks in any of the sectors, whether it is public sector or private sector or cooperative sector, they all underwent this kind of a transformation.
Okay. Thank you. Got it. Shantanu, I'll come to you on the application front. Now, again, so many hybrid environments from web applications and the resultant challenges for the data center infrastructure in managing all these applications and managing them productively so that ultimately the business has to prosper. So what do you feel are the challenges and where are the solutions?
Good afternoon, everybody. I will try to answer this question from both perspectives, like from a user's perspective as well as someone who is actually managing a data center. Actually, we are both. We have got a large development team, which we have to send that to their home, and at the same time we wanted efficient delivery from them. So from our perspective, from an organizational perspective, where we are actually users, right? We had to migrate a lot of applications from our desktop to cloud. That was something we actually need to do in a hurry, because otherwise we would have lost revenue as well as important time to deliver to our customer. So for that migration of application from local servers to data center, cloud, was a challenge from that perspective. And as Sushobhan said, initially it was VOIOD all the way. So imposition of the policies, ISO 27001 policies for any employee who will be working from their home was a challenge. So later on we had to actually mitigate the challenges by the VPN tunneling and all those technologies. This is actually from the user's perspective. But what we also felt from the user's perspective, for any data center, when the load and other things will increase, for the pandemic, and a lot of people are actually, more and more people are actually using the data center and the cloud. Latency management and latency minimization is actually a challenge. What we felt. In lot of situation, the banking application did not respond because of the latency situation, and the applications which are using cloud with fog or cloud with edge are actually getting affected because of the latency. Because 3G and 4G situation is not actually good enough to handle the latency. Probably will be requiring 5G pretty soon. And one thing is pretty clear, Rajneesh, that for this pandemic, we really don't know when it will be over. So the solutions we are building for ourselves and we are building for our customers has to go a long way probably. So there is no we are not thinking that some patchwork for 2 months or 3 months will actually solve get us anywhere. So whatever we are doing, we have to think of a short latency, local edge processing, local fog processing. Because I will just give you an example. That in Kolkatta, a lot of flyovers are actually equipped with number plate detection system, and cars. If you speed the car, it will immediately give you a ticket. It will sense the speed of the car, and it will detect the number plate through OCR, and it will immediately send you a ticket within 5 to 7 seconds. That system actually it was not working properly because of the latency issue nowadays. If you never speeding the car, you are not getting a ticket, because that involves a lot of edge computing in the system. So because of the latency, it is not actually it is not, the data is not going to the server in the right time, and probably there is a timeout. So I mean,
Okay.
these are the couple of things I think should be, these are the challenges, and it should be handled properly. Latency
Okay.
is one of them, and enabling fog and edge through a good through a good system, and the carrier has to change from 3G 4G to 5G.
Okay. Got it. I'll touch upon another critical aspect is the security and compliance. So I'll touch base with Malay and Vikas on this. So Malay, the challenges on security and compliance part, and especially in the current situation, the cybersecurity vulnerabilities have increased. How in this situation would you look at tackling the security and compliance challenges?
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. So, hope I am audible to everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Yeah. During this pandemic situation, one of the major challenge was the availability of the system to individual users who work from home. Providing the solution for server level, where the application will be available to each of the users, and in between two, there is one is the major and prime criteria is the security. So security in terms of how the data is being traveled, how the data is being stored, how the data is being sanitized, how it is keeping the confidentiality, or you can say that safe from the public engineering. So, when the people are working from home or working from office, so security perspective are changes a lot. So when we are providing solution to people to work from home, definitely we will have to compromise the security standard. So like iMerit is ISO 27001, ISO 9001, SOC 2, HIPAA compliance, and all the and we are also self-declared GDPR and CCPA compliance. So in this scenario, so you can imagine what kind of implementation plan we had to do before this. So if we categorize this security perspective, so one is from the asset level. As Paulo was telling, asset tracking is the first and prime requirement for the security perspective, on which we can conduct the monitoring of the system health, restricting the access rights, full disk encryption, patching, vulnerability assessment, and closing. From the server's perspective, that how the data is stored, and when the data is in transit, what kind of technology you are using. That SSL is now it is obsolete. So it is TLS version 1.2 and version 1.3 has come up. Data sanitization. As soon as the project is over, how you are deleting those data from your server. So normally people does that. Okay, do shift del, remove the files from the system. If you do want to, it's a better way. Okay, format the hard disk. If you format the hard disk one times or twice, there is a high chance to recover those data. So what is the process you are having in place to sanitize the data securely? So if I go through the file allocation table, all the file allocation table, all the parameters are written. So let's say F. All the field segments are filled up with F. So that's when these are the blank. But technology is saying that instead of keeping double F statement, put into Y0. 0 is a valid data. So how you are sanitizing the data from the server? And from the front end perspective, prevention, how you are protecting your server from the malicious attack. So as soon as when the people are working from office, that time we can restrict to the specific IP address from where our users can access the data. But now, when these peoples are working across the globe or different geographical location, so we cannot restrict to the specific IP addresses. So what are the things you are going to take care so that you can save these low hanging fruit from the public engineering? So it's better to put the security level controls as a front or security gateway where only the specific ports are open, and all these ports keep under the close monitoring. So like secure scorecard or botnet, take a service from there, check the public IP health and what is the current health status of your server, of your health, not only for the server IP address as well as for the client from where the request is being initiated. Let's say from my laptop, I am accessing an application to my server. But when my traffic is traveling over the internet, there is so many organizations who are working, provide service commercially as well as free of cost. Those organizations are capturing all this information by web crawling and giving you the overall statistic, whoever the person who has accessed the what site and what is the IP reputation of your organization. This IP reputation overall standardize your organizational IT level security policy and the standard what you are maintaining. So
Okay.
if I going to a customer asking for a business, they will refer to that websites and check my health, my security health, and give us a project after that.
You're emphasizing on the policy front. Because I'll come to you on the security and compliance. What do you think are the challenges and what would you suggest?
I would suggest, Vikas, okay, sorry, go ahead.
Okay. I can give you what we at BT are doing. So BT, as you know, is a global corporation. We are servicing clients and customers across the globe. And what we saw during the pandemic was due to the lack of office workers or lack of offices, there was a huge rush to go online. So a lot of customers had to rapidly migrate their operations to clouds of various qualities, if I can call public clouds. And so obviously, a lot of these rapid implementations caused a lot of glitch because when you do implementation in haste, you are obviously skipping some vital link, vital security, and it is more important to keep the business running rather than go down and under and worry about your security. So but we at BT were careful, and we have advised customers to, in fact, we would first do an audit on the compliance and security requirements, how stringent these requirements would be. Accordingly, we go ahead and advise whether you should use a public or a mix of public and private cloud. Hybrid clouds are available to varying degrees. And another thing, VPN tunneling, I have seen, in a lot of countries in Spain, France, Germany, etc. In the month of May and June, from BT, our side, the sales of VPN connections skyrocketed. We were selling almost 10 to 20,000 VPN connections each month, May, June, July. So, a lot of organizations have taken VPN connections, and this provides a lot of safe tunneling into a private cloud, which you can host outside your organization. Encryption is another technology that we are rapidly promoting. That please, VPN alone will not be sufficing, but encryption is another critical space. So, from BT side of point of view, what we are a network services provider, and we don't get into the application side of things. And application security is normally managed by our customers themselves. But from a network point of view, we are encouraging people to look at hybrid clouds, VPN, and encryption as safekeeping.
Okay. Thank you. Before I come back to all the panelists, I'll come to Sandip. You have heard all of them. So very briefly, I'd like to know, maybe give a brief on EcoStructure and any other solutions that would sort of in many of the challenges all the panelists mentioned. Sandip.
Thank you, Rajesh, and good afternoon all. I'm Sandip, handling business development for data center for Schneider Electric. Thing is, as panel members themselves mentioned about certain challenges, particularly Mr. Shantanu and Mr. Yateen mentioned about the need of age and end mile person should be also available when you're talking about your critical infrastructure to be up and running for your organization. So these are actual current trends wherein in mile equipment should be always up and running. So let it be a local data processing that is called as a edge site, or probably a user who is remotely working, but at the same time he is your key resource and he should be always up and running. So these are certain trends, and further they are giving us some other challenges mentioned by other panelists, like Sachin mentioned about risk of failure. Mr. Pallab mentioned about asset visibility and monitoring, and Mr. Patra also mentioned about how visibility to this equipment is important. At the same time, need of certain further manual interference and how quickly I can resolve that. So all these challenges are really close to my heart as a solution provider, and Schneider's EcoStructure platform gives I think each and every challenge answer that with infrastructure actually so this is a three-layer platform, wherein first layer is your NMI equipment, which is connected to edge control software, and further it is the next third layer is giving you app and analytics and services, which helps customer to go for quick decision making and remotely manage and monitor your assets. So let's and at the same time this entire this software suite is possible to fit on site or on premise. At the same time we are giving on cloud solution as well, for so that as Chirag was mentioning, people are nowadays preferring pay as you grow kind of model. So on cloud solution is also very suitable for a certain our clients. Now, to give you a quick, understanding how the solution works, and many of our panel members are from BFSI segment, I'll take that as a one of the example. So let's take here your in my employee who is working from home, and you have provided him good connectivity. At the same time, you have also given him some kind of UPS to safeguard his machine. Now take example that your branch is at some remote place, and there you are running couple of servers, and there also you have certain UPS and some intelligent devices. And then at head office you have your main data center. All these three layers are equally critical, and there you have to be always vigilant about your assets. So the UPS which is used by your employee should be always up and running, and you should be getting some visibility to that. Your branch level equipments are there also, you should be having visibility and optimized asset monitoring for that. And at the same time, obviously for main data center you would require some monitoring. So this is the kind of complete a canvas comes to your mind. Somebody mentioned about, I think Sushobhan mentioned about some centralized monitoring and something dashboard which can give me a complete visibility. So this entire canvas should be visible at a single dashboard, and there that's what EcoStructure comes with. It gives you handy information on your mobile. It is based on certain analytics and computing behind it, and gives you quick decision making help as well. Now main thing is, many times we do reactive approach. So here with EcoStructure you would be much more proactive. You would be getting all the information handy to you before failure of the equipment, and that's why you are geared up that before anything happening, you have already taken up the step and avoided that failure. So those kind of remote monitoring with good visibility, good optimized resource utilization, and as a customer, you can focus on your job and rest all things you can pass on to our partner and Schneider for the infrastructure. That's the key
Okay.
behind infrastructure. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I'll now put a common question to all panelists. And basically, I will want each of you to mention, and let's not only talk about challenges, excuse me, because that has a negative connotation, but what I'm talking about is one step or one measure that you would recommend to enhance your data center infrastructure. And I'll come to each panelist with one advice or one suggestion would you give to enhance data center infrastructure. I'll start with you, Yateen, again.
One advice. Okay. One advice would be many data center providers are giving 1 point monitoring dashboard. My advice would be we should go beyond that and come up with proactive dashboards which tell me the health of the environment so that I can predict an activity before that happens.
Okay.
The framework that I'm suggesting and I'm wanting and I'm pushing my partners, my data center partners, is the system should alert me for patches. The system should alert me for a security fix. The system should alert me for any hardware, right, overruns, heatings, or capacities, right, or any bad blocks or whatever it may be, right, latencies. So something so that before the problem happens, a corrective action can be taken into consideration. Today, 90, maybe 100% vendors are not providing proactive dashboards.
Okay.
So that would be my one answer, right, to your question. Of course, there are many other areas of improvement, but I am sure my fellow colleagues, right, other panelists would touch upon those.
Sure.
If something is
so proactive dashboard is the area that you are mentioning. Pallab, I'll come to you. What would be your advice or suggestion to optimize data center infrastructure?
Well, very pertinent question, Rajnish. It has a twofold. From my part, I would bring it in a twofold part. One is the IT part and one is the OT part. As far as the IT part is concerned in the data center, I would ask one thing. Yatin has very fruitfully said that we need a converged dashboard. He mean to say all things coinciding at the same point, the IT in the IT management part as well as the cybersecurity perspective. That is the NOC part as well as the SOC part, right? Yatin, I think
yes,
you would be the NOC, the SOC, the cybersecurity part, the compliance part, the ministries, the regulatories, all should come under a single dashboard. That is one. And the second part I'm coming is the OT part. That is with respect to the distribution stations. That is my field. That is the electrical technology field. With the perspective, from the perspective of a power utility, as far as the distribution stations are concerned and the generating stations are concerned, we are more bothered with the industrial control system, the SCADA, the PLCs, the distribution automation part, the smart metering AMI part, all should converge with the help of this SIEM solutions. We know there are from Splunk, QRadar. There are various SIEM solutions are available as far as the cybersecurity part is concerned. And from the network part, what we want is that the IT OT converged dashboard along with the SIEM solutions for the OT part as well as the IT part, and also it should reflect the important part with respect to the smart grid control center data center part as well as the IT data center part with respect to the data center infrastructure management. So 5 points I think are more important. One is the asset visibility. Second is the better power efficiency, which I have already told you. Third is the shorter response time. Then is the enhanced security with encrypted protocols, of course. As Malay very correctly said, the cybersecurity measures should be taken care of. Because we know there are two nets. One is the white net, that is the internet part, and one is the dark net. So through the dark net and web crawling, you can get into anything. Okay, be it IT, be it OT. So OT systems are not being public faced with a public IPs. And the last but not the least is that proper compliance part should also reflect with the help of IC, ISO 27001, be it guidelines, be it standard, it should come in a converged dashboard. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Patra, I'll come to you. What would your suggestion be to enhance the infrastructure of a data center?
Well, good, Mr. Jagdish. My first concern is there should be a 3D-like visibility for all the infrastructure or equipments as well as data center support systems, so that with the analytical data, you can see, even if we lost the access to the data center due to outage of any ISP or something else, that can be assessed through a cloud.
Okay. Thank you, Ravi. I'll come to you. What would your one advice would be?
When we are looking at the overall landscape, we are looking at, let's say, the perimeter, we are looking at the applications, we are looking at the database, we are looking at the security, we are looking at the end users connectivity, etc., etc., etc. So when as a data center manager, or I mean, I would like to have an overall picture where I'm able to be more predictive. And here I would take a point away from what Yateen had said, that going and understanding the entire landscape will certainly help me in understanding that which are the areas which I need to concentrate to help to improve on the service levels. Here, one of the things which I have observed, and especially with when I have been interacting with the other what we say service providers, is that sometimes there is no standardization. So certain level of standardizations also need to be built into the services. So when someone subscribes to the services, it's very easy for them to make a comparison. So each one contributes, or each one mentions about in a very different way. So if I want to avail of services from a third party vendor, there has to be a standardized methodology of putting their services or costing, so that it's easy for me to, or as a user, me to understand that what actually I eventually land up paying. Because this is one thing, I mean, we spoke of uptypes, we spoke of connectivity and all that. Secondly, we also need to ensure that the cost is also radically maintained, so that it becomes an incentive that rather than having my own data center, then I use a hybrid model where I can get the best of both the worlds.
Okay. Thank you, Sushobhan. What would your advice be?
Yeah, so already as Jatin said about proactive management, Pallab already said about SIEM, SOC kind of situations. I'll try to harp on the point on the security orchestration layer, which is the managed defense. That means using SOC or SIEM kind of solution, we are trying to aggregate all the logs of the heterogeneous security devices. So we are having a dashboard, we are able to see what are the problem statement. But in our incident response, nowadays the security landscape is evolving. So there has to be certain kind of playbooks. Based on that, certain automated decision can be taken once certain threats, some certain problems in this kind of situations arises. Security orchestration, which is SOAR or maybe managed defense, a kind of platform, can also be an additional layer of benefits on top of a SIEM and this kind of solutions.
Okay.
Yeah, but
Sachin?
Sushobhan, I like to add something. As Sushobhan very correctly said, the security orchestration part, but I beg to differ in one perspective, that in security orchestration, the worst thing is that you don't get the benefit, you don't get the advantage if the logs are of false positives. Because you see, whatever logs we get, there are true positive logs and false positive logs. Okay, so if you are orchestrating something, you are allowing automation to take a decision instead of a human intervention. Then in this case, the worst thing which happens to Sushobhan, we always try to fire on the false positive part, and it becomes a boomerang. This is the only disadvantage in case of this security orchestration is concerned.
That's
Okay,
right. But as
that's
you know,
very pertinent.
using artificial intelligence and all, we are trying to prevent that. So there will
Yeah.
be always pros and cons, but definitely you can use the benefits of technology wherever it is effective.
Actually, the
Okay.
analytics part will play a very important role in security orchestration. The analytics part.
Yes, obviously,
Agree, Shantanu.
like
Very,
to,
very well said. The
what
analysis
I would
part,
like to add is,
for the analysis part, it is very good.
yeah,
please
but
go.
what I would like to add is the AI has reached into a level, but still our Indian mentality is such that the physically the person has to be there. Yeah, I understand from my point of view that if you see, even though AI can do multiple things, and even though many things have been automated, but what eventually each and every, even though it might be a CTO, CIO, or any of the person, he will first thing he asks is there anyone to take care of this, or is there anyone who is there who to look after it? So this is the mentality which has been built up in our mind. So AI has to reach into a different level, and definitely it will reach it. The days are not so far. So definitely, as Sushobhan said, AI definitely has to. We should take a benefit out of it, and we should use it. But even though there are pros and cons out of it, that's what I can say on this.
Okay, Malay, what would your suggestion be if you look at enhancing the data center infrastructure?
Is there any point left for me? I think if all the major point has already been discussed, but normally I think in the different way. So there should be a programmatic approach to take refresh. So like the age of the devices which are being used might be those are the obsolete device but still being used. Those are not under warranty or AMC coverage, or the product patching or service level is not available. So programmatic approach should be there to the take refresher, so that everybody can aware that I am choosing the device, might be this device will be obsolete after 6 months. So
Okay.
that kind of, or let's say I am choosing a service for 1 year or 2 years, but I came to know after configuration of this device, I came to know that after 6 months, this device will no longer be available in the market. No product security patches will be available. Just okay.
Okay. Thank you, Vikas. What would your suggestion be?
I can talk again from a holistic data center point of view. How someone like BT will look into it. We until 2 years back, we used to see data centers with 50,000 square feet, 100,000 square feet capacities. And now, just last week, Amazon made an announcement that they would open another one in Hyderabad. They already have other regions of the country. And as we see various research reports coming up, pandemic or no pandemic, the data center market is continuing to increase. And data centers of 500,000 square feet and beyond are also, which were once unimaginable, are coming up. So there is a debate going on now whether these hyperscale 500,000 square feet DCs versus co-local or availability zone basis wise, should we have smaller 50,000 square feet data centers nearby regions to reduce the latency, and or have one large one in a little distant area. I think that is a debate now. As the market matures, should we look at large hyperscale and DC maybe 2,000 kilometers away from you, or should you want to look at consider something which is 50,000 square feet but within 200 kilometer range from you? So I think this is the next generation question which will soon start coming up in the next 1 or 2 years.
Okay. Shantanu, what will your opinion be?
I mean, I would like to point out on one very critical aspect, that is, managing the data center from remote location requires an application called DCIM application. And so far, most of the data centers are using discrete DCIMs, and they are, trying to connect one to another. But my requirement or my suggestion for future data centers, especially when the pandemic is actually, I think it is going to continue, and we require remote management more than ever nowadays, is to actually go for a very scalable, homogeneous DCIM solution, which is not discrete, and any DCIM solution which will actually have an open standard like Open DCIM. This is one, and in order to manage and maintain the DCIM, we nowadays require an out-of-bound data connection protocol. Actually, out-of-bound data connection protocol means I may connect to DCIM not through a fiber but through my mobile phone and try to change configuration, try to know things. So this becomes very important, because the person who will be managing the DCIM may not be in front of of a good IT infrastructure at all the time. So OOB, out of band connection protocol for the DCIM is also a requirement, especially nowadays.
Yeah, I would like to add on this OOBM thing. Out of bound is also exposing us to new vulnerabilities, because one is out of bound is not a standard in a regular protocol, and someone will have to depend upon maybe a mobile network, maybe on an internet network, or whatever other network available, because the standard network that the data center or the connection had is already down. And to revive the server, you need to try out any other means possible. And when you have access to any other means, even the darknet will have access into that. So I think DCIMs should evolve more and have more smart abilities to be able to preclude some of these threats which get exposed in such a scenario.
Yeah.
Okay. Sandip is not here, so yeah, you are saying something, Mr. Patra. Go ahead.
I'm there,
Yes.
Rajneesh.
Yeah, please go ahead. Hello?
Rajneesh, am I audible? Sandip, this side. Anything?
Yeah, you are audible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sandip, you are mentioning the ecosystem. So I'll come to you just after this. I'll just put a question, and this is an open question to all panelists. Anyone can take it. What are your expectations in this scenario from a data center service provider? Any of you can take this up.
Rajneesh, can I take it?
Sure.
My expectation is predictive maintenance solution, adding value while saving cost. I repeat, predictive maintenance solution, adding value while maintaining cost.
Oh, great. Anyone would like to add any expectation from a service provider?
Yes, just I will add to that one. In this pandemic and this remote managing a data center, we should go for a software defined infrastructure rather than a traditional hardware based are the critical points, so that it can be effectively managed from remote through the DCIM or any other solutions available.
Okay.
In my
yeah, Shantanu.
I have one expectation, Sandip. I would specify you, because we have done many projects with Schneider, okay, and still your Schneider people working with us in our latest data center project. So in this respect, my expectation lies, you should embrace now. Time has come to embrace open system protocols, because you see, be it Schneider, be it anybody, be it Cummins, be it Vativ, that is previously known as Emerson, they are all having their proprietary protocols. And because of that, as Shantanu very correctly said, that if you embrace these open system protocols along with your proprietary system, and with, as Vikas very correctly said, of an IPsec technology with a secure encryption, if you can come up, nothing like it.
Great, really, worth listening to people and understanding from you what exactly you are looking for. I think the keywords what I pick for for my organization is basically proactive and preventive solution. Cost is one aspect you people really mentioned, and actually that is need of hour, and we are continuously on that task. How we can help customers for reducing cost in their day-to-day activities, and then as you rightly said, certain systems which are software driven, at the same time open protocol type, and yes, all our architectures at this moment are majorly open protocol type, and yes, we are evolving over that, and definitely would be if current solutions, if you explore like infrastructure IT, which is is a cloud based, and IoT, and definitely an open architecture platform. So definitely you will be getting what exactly you are asking for. So really thank you very much for your feedback, and Schneider would work on it. Real thanks for your
Sandip,
time and feedback.
Sandip, I
Yes.
want to add one thing. Please do not this is my advice. If you want to be ahead of the curve and a differentiator, don't get stuck into preventive. Evolve yourself to predictive. Preventive तो सब लोग कर रहे हैं, predictive अभी तक
and proactive, predictive and proactive.
Yeah, of course, proactive. If they are the torch bearers, they are proactive.
Yes. So during my discussion also,
Sandip, at the same time, I must congratulate, your products are very cost effective. But at the same time, if you buy a Suzuki Alto, you can get it in 3 lakh rupees, okay? But if you want to run a Lamborghini, then you have to pay 67 to 70 lakhs, okay? So on your side, I'm saying, if you are providing me a Lamborghini, then I have to pay you 70 lakhs, right?
That's a good point. Since this has gone quite long, we'd like to conclude it here. Any last thoughts from anyone? Any of the panelists?
Yeah, I was just
last
Shantanu,
go ahead.
Yeah. My wish list for a data center will be use of more and more green power. That is definitely a top priority in my wish list.
Okay. So anyone else would like to make any comment?
Yeah, I would like to make one comment. Please take care, stay safe, and happy Diwali to all of you.
Oh, same to you and to
same from our side. Same from our side. Happy Diwali to all of you.
That's right. Happy Diwali to all of you. Thank you.
Okay.
Happy Diwali to all of you. Mr. Sandip, I will add one thing only. As you are using most of the equipments from Schneider, that are the legacy systems. If you can add some value added, can do some value added to the old systems so that it can be effectively managed from a remote location, it will be a great advantage rather than going for a new infrastructure.
Yeah, you touch base really I would say a pinpoint of customers who are having, because data centers are running in the market from normally a setup runs for 10-15 years, and definitely technology evolves over the time, and yes, we are especially looking at it. We are taking up retrofit jobs, and wherein we are upgrading certain old technology equipments and bringing them up to this intelligence that they can help you to remotely monitor and manage. Definitely, this is possible, sir. And I request if any of you has such kind of request, definitely Schneider team would be happy to support that. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. So thanks to all the panelists, and we could have continued, but we have just run out of time. So thanks again for joining, and happy Diwali to all of you. Good afternoon.
Thank you.
Thanks to all and happy Diwali to all of you.
Happy
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Goodbye. Take care. Stay safe.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Yeah, stay safe.